first question is like, are you proud to be Canadian? And then
I was.
And boom, we are live. What's up, everybody? Couple Casuals podcast, episode number 47. I'm your host, Stefano. And guys, we got a great conversation for you today. We got a good one for the city. My guest today is a multi-talented entrepreneur. He's the owner of Forever Young Inc. He's the owner of multiple boxing clubs. And he is the owner of Lee Baxter Promotions, which is one of the biggest boxing promotion and management companies in the country. So with that being said, I want to welcome Lee Baxter to the podcast.
Thanks, bro.
Welcome back, brother.
Hell of an intro there.
Yeah,
Like,
thank you, bro.
I really got to deliver on this podcast after that.
Nah, man, I gotta give you the respects. Like I was telling you just a little bit ago, from a distance, training at Grants MMA, boxing being close to my heart, I watched you as a Canadian guy on the big stage with some of the fighters there that you managed, and then they fought on your card and shit, and just putting on stellar cards, putting on stellar just events. So I'm looking forward to this conversation and just getting into a lot of good shit. But before we do, last night there was an interesting fight that went down, and I kind of want to get your opinion on it. Coming from a boxing promoter and all that shit, so you got some good perspectives. So Jake Paul fought last night, and this pod's probably going to come out a little bit after. So just for context, yesterday Jake Paul fought Mike Perry. But I want to get your opinion on the whole boxing event and then the Jake Paul phenomenon too. What's your opinion on the whole thing?
So I think it's good for boxing. At the end of the day, there were 17,000 people to watch boxing last night. It wasn't just Jake Paul. Like, you had world-class fighters on the undercard.
That's true.
There was a Canadian that pulled off knockout of the night, craziest upset that you did not see coming.
Yes, Lucas Badi.
Was formally signed to me, Lucas Badi. I believe he was down on the scorecards on every round. And it just goes to show you that it just takes one punch at any point in time, right? And you can become a star overnight. I'm sure he's on every reel on Instagram.
That's true.
Now.
Yeah, he kind of stole the show a little bit,
Yeah, listen, like, leading into that, you expected a crazy performance from Jake Paul. Like after that, Amanda Serrano stopped her girl. And then
that one was scary, bro.
Yeah.
She did not seem to, she should not have been there.
No. I think it was just a
sacrificial lamb. Yeah.
Promo for Katie Taylor to show how much of a monster she is, right? But yeah, back to Jake Paul. Listen, when it first started happening, no one liked it, including myself. I thought it was really disrespectful. But fast forward a couple years later, he did lose. He still kept going. It wasn't just this fake thing. He took tough fights. When I say tough fights, risky fights. The Tommy Fury fight was a risky fight, and he lost, and he took it like a champ and just moved forward. He's putting in the work. He's getting better. He's doing a lot for the sport other than just for himself. He's making piles of money for people that wouldn't normally be making money, like Mike Perry. I'm sure he's doing great in BKFC, but he ain't making money like last night.
He ain't making that money, that's for sure.
He didn't make money at the UFC like last night. Yep. You see Tyrone Woodley fought him twice, and then he was on the broadcast.
He's commentating.
Like he keeps people involved. He's putting efforts into taking care of people.
Yeah, it's true, man. Yeah, it's crazy to see like the journey. And one of the things that he says is he goes, you guys are always critiquing who I'm fighting, but if you compare me to the Floyd Mayweathers or these guys in their first couple fights, you don't even know who those guys' names are. What's your opinion on that? Do you think that has any validity?
I think he's accurate with that. But at the same time, no one knows who any of these people are in their first couple fights because they're not famous already. Jake Paul happens to be so famous that with fame comes critiques, right? Some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it. Either way, everyone's talking about it. So when you're looking at his first pro fight, his second pro fight, it's like, oh, you're talking so much smack. You should be fighting this world champion. Well, he shouldn't. He really shouldn't. But he also knows it's show business, and he has to talk that smack so he stays relevant in people's mouths.
Yeah, it's true. And one of the other things that I was kind of saying to you earlier is he's rich. He doesn't need to fight. So that part there, like making that walk is a scary walk, especially like you said, 17,000
But I think it's an
people.
addiction too.
You like that adrenaline buzz.
Yeah, listen, you can have all the money in the world, but you can your manhood and pride can be taken away from you in a split second by another man. Money can't fix that. You know what I mean? What he's doing there is an addiction. Like, it's a high. And you see it with fighters. You see it with famous fighters that just don't know what to do with their lives after. Some guys that just don't want to throw the towel in because there is a high.
Would you say Connor's one of those guys?
Oh, 1,000%.
Because he's rich as fuck.
Yeah.
Lamborghini yachts, one of Ford, doesn't need to be fighting.
Was it last year or the year before? The richest athlete of the year?
Yeah, that's right on the Forbes list, which he didn't even, did he even fight? I think because he sold Proper 12, maybe.
I think Proper 12. Yeah, it must have been.
Yeah. Now he's involved in BKFC too, the bare knuckle. So he's he's putting his promoter hat on now.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting how that plays out. But one of the other things he said too was he was talking some shit last night on Twitter, on X, whatever you want to call it. And he's like to Jake that he won't fight in Las Vegas because the governing bodies are much more stricter with their testing. Do you think Jake might be taking some sketchy horse pills?
I don't know who isn't.
It's that
like,
prevalent, eh?
Every sport, like at the highest level, man, these guys are mutants. Everyone's doing something.
How do they get by? Is it easy to?
Well, it's not easy, but look at the Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So Devin Haney pridely wears Snack. Snack is Victor Conte. Victor Conte was the guy that was involved in all the scandal with Barry Bonds, with Mark McGuire, and he's banned from professional league sports, but somehow comes out with a nutrition line and is involved in boxing still. And then he's the one that has involvement with VADA, who's getting Ryan Garcia tested. Like, you're telling me that individual is not got Devin Haney on juice? Come on. Devin Haney's probably on more juice than Ryan Garcia.
That's interesting because didn't he piss hot? Ryan pissed hot, right?
That's what I mean. And like everyone canceled Ryan and trying to cancel him up. Bro, you got your ass kicked. Hands down. I don't care. It wasn't juice that got your ass kicked. You got your ass kicked.
Yeah.
You're on everything that Ryan's on, and you fully got beat pillar to post.
Dude, that was an exciting fight, man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Ryan coming
But
in.
like that's the thing with boxing. Like everything is somewhat written already. Like there's a result that is supposed to happen. Now, that doesn't mean it's not wrestling where it's acting and they follow a script. But like you put your promoter hat on. I'm not bringing some guy here to knock my guy out. Yeah. That wasn't in the plan. The plan is to showcase how good my guy is. Does my guy sometimes get knocked out? Yeah, but that wasn't in the plan. And Ryan flipped the script. That wasn't in the plan at all. Everyone said he was crazy. He should cancel the fight, check him in. He beat the crap out of him.
Yeah, off being.
And then everyone cried wolf.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, how do I point my finger at this? I wasn't supposed to get beat up like this.
And they thought he was crazy.
It's still a sport.
Yeah, they thought he was crazy. And then even is he fired from boxing or expelled from boxing?
Nah, so like the WBC is the one sanctioning body that tries to flex a little bit. And they're saying, oh, we will not sanction your fights. But Ryan Garcia has already been a world champion. He's basically saying like, F you, world. Like, you don't want to sanction my fights? Cool. I'm the one that makes the money, not your belt. Like, people will come watch me fight whether your belt's on the line or not. So people are trying to, like, steer him in directions by trying to, like, blackmail him or trying to, like, cancel him.
Yeah.
And, like, do I think he's in a dark place in life? Yeah. But so have many, many other fighters. Like, look at Mike Tyson and all the shit he's been through. No one was there trying to cancel him, saying, "Oh, you can't go here, you can't do this."
Before he canceled culture.
Do you know what I mean? It's just a different world we're living in now.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, which I want to talk to you about too. But I want so much stuff I want to get into, and I want to kind of start with you as an individual for people tuning in that maybe don't know who Lee Baxter is, or maybe do but want to know a little bit more. How did the story sort of unfold from like your upbringing to kind of the businesses that you're into now? How did that journey sort of unfold for you?
Yeah, I grew up in South Etobicoke. Just came from a regular family. I wouldn't say I was like broke, but we definitely weren't wealthy. Both parents worked 2 jobs. And then I got involved in working at security nightclubs. And I worked downtown, saw the nightlife, kind of like show business. And I felt there was some place in it for me. At around my mid to late 20s, I didn't want to keep just working in a nightclub, watching the years go by. So I purchased a tattoo shop as a dare off my buddy's little brother.
As a dare?
Yeah.
How did that go down?
I was chirping him, saying he doesn't have good work ethic because he comes from a bit of money. And he's like, you couldn't do it. I was like, easily I could do that. And he's like, I dare you to. I was like, no problem. I'll sell one of my cars. I'll buy it next week. And I went in there.
That's amazing.
Not knowing anything about tattoos. Like I was like asking people in their job interviews, how do I pay them? Like, do I pay you hourly? Like, how does this work?
Love that, bro.
And then turned it around, moved it down to Queen Street in the Art District, blew it up pretty big. Used a lot of the resources I had through the nightclubs with celebrity pull and stuff to get the right people in. And the hustle that you learn from working downtown. Now, downtown's a lot different now, like in terms of nightlife. But back then, Richmond and Adelaide days, there was real money. real money in every place in those places, whether you're at the front door, the bartenders, the managers. There wasn't even bottle service then. Like a
What year was
flex
that?
would, I'd probably say like early 2000s, 2001, 2002. Yeah, like a real flex would be go on the side of the bar and order 100 shots.
Yeah.
And you just hand them out to people, order another 100 shots.
Yeah.
And that guy's moving and shaking something. There wasn't a bunch of booths, and it was just packed. Like you would have lineups that would go for hours, and I would just thousands of dollars from jumping the line. Like you don't see that anymore. Which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Like I think it brought a lot to the economy, but it brought a lot of problems too.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to what I was saying. From there, there was an individual, Sam Vargas, that wanted a tattoo. He came to get tattooed, and I was talking to him about his career, and then I got invited to go to one of his fights. It was at the Hershey Center, and I was impressed. I was like, I can't believe that this is taking place here. And then I asked him if I could manage him. He said no. I sponsored him a little bit. He said I didn't have enough experience. He didn't want it to come between our friendship. I managed another kid, moved him really well, and within a year got him on like ESPN Friday Night Fights and a couple decent, I think, Showbox. And then Sam was having issues with his promoter, and then he came back to me. I said, no, let's try it. And then I managed him 2012 to 2015 on the assumption that I wanted to bring live professional boxing at a world level to Toronto. So I wanted to eventually promote, but I needed to learn. So I learned with him. It's kind of like you want to go to the track, but if you don't have a racehorse, you can't really be involved.
You're learning on the job, though.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Which I think is the best way to do it. Because the problem is everyone wants to be a promoter and everyone wants to reinvent the wheel and come in with this big splash. They come in with a checkbook, and then all of a sudden, everyone's just looking at them like a mark. And before you know it, once they start learning what it is, they've lost so much money and there's such a sour taste in their mouth that they get out. So then, we started small, man. From fighting in bingo halls, fighting in, I remember there's something called purchasing a slot. So what that means is if you're not scheduling an event and you need activity, but you want your fighter to be in a favored fight, you can go to a different promoter and you can pay for all the expenses that are attached to your bout. So as a manager and not a promoter, I didn't have the resources to put this fighter on another promoter's show unless A, I signed him to that promoter, or B, I was just purchasing slots. So I was purchasing slots with Sam, and we went down to Mexico through like a friend of a friend got me in touch with someone, and I didn't know what we're going to. We end up going to like a taxi call center, and they clear out all the desks and chairs.
Oh, that's like some backyard.
Put a boxing ring in there. It must have been 105 degrees in the place. Like it was crazy. And then we get into like the third or fourth round, and I'm looking at this fight. I was like, oh, we're getting screwed. This Mexican's completely screwed me.
Yeah.
He brought my guy down, and he's got some killer. And Sam was down on almost every round. And then in the seventh round, he just throws this hook and knocks this guy out.
I love that.
It was crazy. Like, but you learn so much. Like, you learn how you were genuinely, like, thinking that people were just going to be honest with you in this sport. But it's the worst of the worst, man.
How important do you think that is a part of the journey? Like, speaking from an entrepreneur and then also as a promoter and then a friend, too, to just go through that grind and have that unexpectedness and like that learning on the job. Do you think that's like a crucial component to it?
The bond that Sam and I have, I don't think I'll ever have with another fighter.
Yeah.
Just because we've been in the trenches together, and we like, he did very, very well for himself. Now, granted, he never fought for a world title. He actually had to fight a world champion without putting the title on the line. So when he fought Danny Garcia, because he wasn't in the ratings, they're like, no, we won't allow him to fight for the world title. So Danny had to fight a non-world title fight as the current world champion. So I never actually got him a world title shot or to become a world champion, but he probably made more money than most people in the sport. He kept all his money, made really good investments. But yeah, like I said, we traveled the world together. We made a lot of money together. And I learned from him. If I didn't have him, I wouldn't be where I was, because like I didn't have someone that was trusting and say, okay, let's learn on the job together.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. And speaking on, as an entrepreneur too, like, so your first experience with entrepreneurship was that tattoo shop then?
Yeah.
And then from there,
I had a little. I was dating a girl that was living with me, and we were both working in nightclubs, and we were crushing it. Like I don't know how old you are, but at that time, music nightclub was the spot.
I remember. And then there was a shooting there, and it kind of chilled out a bit. Yeah,
but probably like 5-6 years prior to that. So she was working there. She was making piles of money, only on Saturday nights. And I had I had just purchased a condo that was a work to live space on Wellington, and I opened this little dog boutique, selling dog clothes for her and myself, and it was atrocious.
So that was the first.
That was the first business. It miserably failed, but I didn't make it look like it miserably failed because I ended up selling the unit, and I was like, "Oh, we sold the unit, so we're just going to close the shop."
It's a part of the gig, though, isn't it? It's a part of that track.
But that taught me how to sit somewhere.
Yes.
Like you open a store, and no one's coming in. Everyone just walks by, and it was maybe, I don't know, 6 feet by 10 feet, and maybe a little bigger than that, maybe like 8 by 12 or something. But I sat there, open to close every day. And you learn that like if you build something, people will come. And I think that's the problem with this generation now that I find, especially with employees and people that I see at a younger age. They don't have the patience to like watch something fruitate. They want it now. They want it now. They want it now.
Yeah, I think there's so many components into why that is happening with like just
phones.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's
media,
rapid now.
Everything. It's really clouded people.
But what I like to look at is like how things kind of add up. Like you had the tattoo shop, then you met Sam, then that led to the boxing promotion.
Yeah.
Now you're on big stages as a Canadian doing big things. So that's amazing to see. Did you always know from when you were younger, like I'm not getting a job, like I'm gonna be an entrepreneur, like I'm doing my thing?
Yeah, I think that happened in the nightclubs, because when I had the ability to make, I don't know, like Caravan in 2005, me and 3 other guys made $21,000 at a door, just from being outside charging for people to jump the line.
I used to do that all the time.
Like you just, when you've seen that, you can't have a job, man.
Yeah,
you're 22 years old. Where are you gonna go making that type of money? So you figure out how to grind. And then when you're in those environments, you end up bumping shoulders with people that are I was 21, 22. Everyone was older than me. Everyone's a mover, a shaker. So you start working with different people. And then next thing you know, it's like, I can't go back to.
Was there a mentor or somebody that you looked to for like advice throughout that pursuit?
I think there was many.
There was, eh?
Yeah, there was many at different places in different industries. And things come full circle. There's a guy named Gary McCullough, nicknamed G. I met him in 2004, and I learned so much.
Yeah,
so much. He was a guy that had a door-to-door business when he was 18 in like 30 states across the United States.
Shit, at 18, bro?
Yeah. At 21, he had sold the business, made a pile of money, came back here. He taught me a lot about life and about business. And then there was like maybe like a 3-4 year span where he was not doing well. We parted ways. He tried to take his own life. Like really like got heavily medicated, was incarcerated for a bit, and then fixed his whole life. Kind of came back to just settling down, retired. And right now my tattoo shop's going through a lot of changes. He just said, no, I want to work with you. It's not about money.
Full
it's
circle,
not about
bro.
time. No, he's coming in there to grind it out. He doesn't want anything. Just a good friend that wants a challenge, wants to help me out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's amazing to see because, you know, when things come full circle like that, life works out in crazy ways, man. It does. And one of the things I want to talk to you about a little bit more specifically, like, okay, you met Sam, you opened the box promotion. Was fighting always close to your heart? Did you have, like, you worked in security I'm sure you've been in a couple scraps and you fucking seen a couple scraps. Was that something you always had a passion for?
So I got into security because at a young age in my area, everyone was doing steroids. So like around 16, 17 in high school, in South Etobicoke, there are a lot of Europeans and we're all doing it, Portuguese and Italian guys. And I just happened to be hanging out with the older guys. So I was 6'2", 220 pounds, all hopped up on steroids, full of testosterone, ready to fucking throw people around.
Yeah.
So I get in a fight and I can't fight. Like I'm just looking like an idiot with this little kid big jacked up guy missing, slow. I think I like landed in a hot dog stand or something, and I was like, I gotta learn how to fight.
Yeah.
So then I started boxing, and then I just always did it like recreationally, but I always had a respect and a love for it. Similar to like a Jake Paul situation, like you pick something up and you're like, well, fuck, I really really love this, but I'm also realistic with my life and know that no one can take something very, very seriously and go to the highest level starting at that age.
Yes, man. I have
So like I played very competitive hockey. My friends and cousin was in the NHL and everything. And you see what it takes at a certain age. So like when I started falling in love with boxing, I was too old. I was too old to actually take it serious.
How old were you when you started falling in love with it?
Well, I'm early 20s.
Yeah. See, I learned my first, like how to punch when I was 18, 19, fucked off for a bit. Because it was a similar story. You grow up, you get into scraps and shit. And then you go to a boxing gym and then you realize you can get beat the fuck out of by a lot of people in this world. You get humbled quick.
8-year-old.
Yeah. There's some studs out there and it humbles you quick. That's why I think it's good for any man listening or watching, like get yourself involved with in a boxing club.
My son's not even 2 and he's in the gym every day.
Is he? Yeah, but you own gyms too, right? So
But he needs to be around it.
Yeah.
And trust me, I am not pushing my son to be a professional boxer by any means, but I am pushing my son to train.
It provides a sense of humility.
Yeah, like when you're 70 years old, like you see some things on Instagram, those 75-year-old guys smacking someone out. You don't lose it. Like once you know how to fight, you always remember how to fight. It's like riding a bike.
Always. And I think especially as a man, you should know how to fucking throw one too. Like you should. It's a part of your DNA.
Yeah.
Dana White says it beautifully about fighting. The art of fighting is a beautiful thing. He says something along the lines of like everybody always stops to turn to look at a fight. Any other sports game or something can be going on. You look at a hockey game, right? When a fight happens during a hockey game, everybody's on their fucking feet. Yeah. It's just something innate in us as humans.
Goes back to the Romans. Like
it does.
You pick your best guy, we're picking ours. At the end of this, someone's a winner, someone's a loser. It's not like, oh, who can run further or who can do this. It's like, no, this is real man shit.
Yeah. It's just it's something crazy but beautiful at the same time.
Yeah.
The art of fighting is just an unbelievable, like looking from the outside. And that's why I have so much respect for the guys that do it. And then the guys that are involved in putting these fucking things together, because without guys like you, especially in Canada, which we'll talk about in more detail, we need that because there is talent here and we just need the right showcasing for it and stuff like that. So there's a future for it.
Yeah, it's like to go back to what happened last night, right? Like you look at how beautifully the script got unwritten with Lucas.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's wild, like how every single second, the commentators, everyone's writing him off. He should, like, he's got nothing. There's nothing he can do. Now it's just becoming a showcase of how skilled H2O is. What the hell just happened?
What just happened?
And all of a sudden, H2O is gone.
Yeah.
Where is he? Now Lucas is everywhere. Like, it's just at the blink of an eye. And it, like you said, it's an art. It's like maybe, now obviously, after the fact, Lucas is going to say that was the plan the whole time. And I would expect him to. As his promoter, or if I still was his promoter, I would be marketing it like that, right? Well, he was losing because he knew he was going to knock him out. But like, it's true. It comes down to like, it's ingrained in you. And anything can happen at any point. And that's what makes it so interesting.
So exciting, yeah, because at any point,
Andy Ruiz against Anthony Joshua.
That was fucking exciting.
You know what I mean? Like, that was not in the script. Like, these moments that they're just Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney.
You know what's really one of my favorite boxing fights of all time was Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. That first one when he came up like the Undertaker.
Yeah,
that was just in the
story in the game of sport. In this game, if there's no risk, there's no reward, and I think that's somehow that has to get instilled in these fighters because this generation is just different, man.
That's what I want to talk to you about now. Like, based on your like involvement closely with the community and then putting on these events and then your boxing clubs too, what's the talent look like in Canada? What's the trajectory? What's your opinion on it?
Right now, I am not motivated.
Really? Okay.
No. I'd say I was very, very motivated. 2017, 18, when I had brought Adonis Stevenson, Badou Jack, Floyd Mayweather.
I remember he came to train at Grant's.
Right after that, I was bringing the WBC tournament with Evander Holyfield. Right after that, Sam went and fought Amir Khan. It was buzzing. It was one after another, and then COVID happened.
Fucking always the story, man.
Slowed everything down.
Yeah.
I came out of COVID motivated because I ended up getting a good partnership at Rebel, a new venue right downtown, good shows going on. And then things just kind of got sour. No one wanted to fight, man. No one wants to fight.
Is that what it is? That guys don't want to fight guys?
I don't even like, and I don't want to point my finger and say all the fighters are the same, but someone in their camp, whether it's a fighter, whether it's a trainer, or whether it's their promoter, everyone is scared of a fight. Like they just don't want to fight people.
I had a fighter.
It's so hard to make fights these days. So hard.
I had a Michael Imprado on, one of the fighters in the city, and he told me too. He said a lot of guys don't want to fight. People go, oh, I used to train with him, or this guy, I know this guy, he trains with him.
Yeah, it's like
there's so many things. Like
I asked the cleaning lady or the babysitter, and she thinks it's a bad idea. Like it's getting to the point of that. Like it's so ridiculous. Oh no, they might spar one day. Who cares?
Yeah.
You know, back in like the 90s and the 80s, the sparring partners got ready to fight each other.
Yeah.
Like, or if there was an injury, the guy that he just was in camp with for 8 weeks becomes the opponent. Like, it's just, I don't know. I think it's a combination of there's a real lack of teachers, trainers in Canada right now. And there's like woke culture. It's like, as much as people
you think that's seeped in?
Well, as much as people can still puff their chest out and say, I'm super masculine, you're still living in this world. You know what I mean? It rubs off on you a little bit. And people are a little bit more like, they're just concerned of whatever little hope they have to be relevant in this industry could be gone if they get exposed. So and let me explain that.
Yeah.
So let's say you got an up-and-coming coach who hasn't really had a name for himself in the sport. So like, let's say he had a couple amateur fights. Now he wants to be a trainer. If you put him in the world stage, there's no way that anyone knows who he is, and he has no confidence in what he's doing. But then he gets a couple local fighters. They want to train with him. And I believe that he thinks, oh, if my guy loses, then this whole run is gone for me. So I'm scared to put my guy into a fight because he doesn't have confidence that his guy won't even win. Because there's such a lack of experience.
So you think it's experience specifically that's keeping Canadian boxing regressing, not progressing?
I think from the trainer standpoint, I think it's a lack of experience and confidence. I think that gets instilled into the fighters, whether it's spoken about or not. It's just felt. And then I think the promoters are, like, economically, it's more expensive to do shows than it was 10 years ago. So I think the promoters are so worried that their ticket seller, if they lose, might no longer be a ticket seller, that they don't want to put them in with anyone to take risks. I think that other promoters are very prideful, that they don't want to lose to another promoter. I just think everything is just really small mentality.
Yeah, because a lot of people always say if you want to succeed in like acting or singing or any sort of creative pursuit or even like in athletic space, you have to go to the States. Do you think that's still the case? Well, no, you don't.
I don't think it's because the States is suffering hard, man.
Really?
I think the States is suffering hard. I think from like a B and C level promoter, I don't think that they're almost non-existent down there compared to the way that we can survive here. Look at Montreal.
Yeah, Montreal's.
The problem here is that the mainstream media and sports media don't take boxing seriously, local boxing seriously. And that's because I think the local boxing is local boxing. As much as I want to say I'm doing more than I am, it's local boxing. The problem is the local boxing is not having local fights that pique enough local interest to get an economic push to get it up to the next stage where it's international boxing.
Mm-hmm. So it's a multitude of things.
Like here, I'll give you an example. United Promotions.
Right.
They got a good deal at a couple casinos. My hat's off to them. They're doing good quality shows. They got a bunch of athletes, consistent schedule, everything's growing. But they could take one of their athletes and put it against one of my athletes that has a buzz and has a following, or one of Three Lions athletes, and put these guys in a fight that takes our threshold from 1,200, 1,300 in attendance to 2,500, 3,000. That 2,500, 3,000 benchmark reaches a whole different level of revenue. And when that revenue comes in, you can influence media, get more exposure, get more coverage. Whoever comes out winning can keep growing to the next step and next step. But I believe that the promoters are a little bit concerned that their guy doesn't win, then it puts them back 2 steps.
So there's so much fear of that we're not going to succeed.
I think so. That's what's going on right now.
Yeah, that's an issue because, like we were saying earlier, fighting is risky. You got to
Look at last night.
Yeah. Guy
My
was from
hat is
Niagara.
off
Yeah.
to Team Body for taking that fight.
Yeah.
Because fear would have never put him in that position. And a lot of people would have said it's a bad idea. And when you're watching the first 6 rounds, it was a bad idea.
And that's why the return is going to be so high, right? Because that risk was so...
That's exactly what I say, risk for reward.
Yeah.
Like somehow, somewhere in this industry, it has to change. People got to take risks. Because the only ones we talk about are the ones that were the risk takers. Like when... I don't know who I could say in my roster. You could say who he fought last, but it went to plan, and it wasn't like... I wasn't like, oh my God, what a night. It was crazy. Like, I got to get to the point where I'm bringing someone here and the risk is being taken, but it's taking on my watch. So I'm giving my guy all the advantages. But if it's not risky, it's not motivating.
Is there guys are guys reluctant to come fight in Canada? Like they don't, is there not really an interest to bring guys? How does
It's a
that
money
work?
thing.
Yeah. Is there money to be made in Canadian boxing?
There's no money in it at the start.
Yeah, that's
None.
for sure. That's the other thing. There's
So
no
you got
money.
guys that are like
They got to train people on the side.
they got to have a second hustle.
Yep.
And they're doing it against people that probably are in a better position than them. Meaning they came out with like, I'm talking on like the Canadian spectrum. Let's say you got a kid that wants to box. Started boxing when he was like 10. He was on the amateur team. There's no money in Canadian amateur boxing. You're up against like Team Russia or even Team Ireland, Team USA. These guys are on salaries. Like
They're getting paid like that,
the
eh?
amateurs, they have like good money coming in where they don't even want to turn pro. Then you got a Canadian guy that says, okay, I did this on like my parents funding it, kind of like hockey. Now I'm going to turn pro. Well, you're from Canada and you don't sell tickets in Madison Square Garden. So you're not signing to any big name promoter. You got to start grinding it out here with a local promoter. And maybe you're talented, but maybe you're not popular. So now you don't sell tickets. Well, now the local promoter doesn't give a crap about you.
Exactly. That's the
You know what I
problem.
mean?
They got to
It's like, okay, but if you do sell tickets, maybe you can't fight. And the local promoter cares about that guy.
So you think it's the complete package. What do you think the complete package would be? You got to be a good fighter. You got to be good with social media now too. You got to be exciting.
You got to have the it factor. And then you got to know how to fight.
Have we seen that in Canada? I know you have some of your guys that work closer with you. I'm sure you would vouch for them.
I would say if there's anyone that's close to me that ticks off the most boxes would be Josh Lupia.
Okay.
Very good looking guy, but not soft by any means. He's been through a lot. His background story like comes from a troubled family. Dad's been involved in a lot of like high level stuff. Comes from a small town. He has been shot.
Oh shit! So he's got
his
a story.
leg was supposed to be amputated. He funded his whole medical rehab and treatment and everything in America by doing whatever he had to do to pay the bills. Couple $100,000, like.
But we might have to get him on the pod.
No, he is
to
the
talk to
guy that like packed up, moved to Los Angeles to train.
Love it. Yeah.
Funds everything himself. Was on the national team. has been boxing since he was like single digits. He's a big puncher. He's at 140 pounds, 147 pounds, so he's at the right weight. He's charismatic. Like, there's so many things that you need in this game. Like, so many. Look at Rigondo. The guy was one of the best boxers in the world, but didn't want to learn English and fought Cuban style. And, like, even if he won, people just didn't care.
That's the thing. You have to learn English.
And then you have got like Gabe Rosado, who had like almost as many losses as he did wins. And he was in fight after fight after fight after fight. Charismatic. Like, he was the first boxer I asked to take a picture with.
You never asked to take a picture with anybody else, eh?
No, it was so early,
so
right? It was
early.
like 2012 or something. I remember going to see Cotto Trout at Madison Square Gardens, and I saw him in the lobby.
So were you watching boxing from when you were a kid, even before you got involved? Like, did you always love?
Yeah, I didn't follow it as close to like know everyone.
Yeah,
but I always watched it. Yeah.
What do you think about like the UFC? And do you watch the UFC at all?
I was flipping back and forth yesterday. I don't.
Would you ever manage UFC MMA fighter?
No.
Not your scope.
No, it's just a different game. So like, what's so unique about boxing is, let's say, I don't know, you introduced me to some 18-year-old phenom that has like 200 amateur fights, right? If he stays loyal to me and I do everything right, I can bring this kid that's completely unknown to full stardom, and I still remain his promoter, and I can put the whole show on. Unlike mixed martial arts, I have to hand him over to a different league. You follow?
Yeah. So you have, that's in boxing specifically?
In boxing is one of the only sports that an unknown person and an unknown promoter can go all the way to the very top.
I understand. Yeah.
Whereas
so
like
MMA,
every other sport, like let's say I'm managing hockey players, and I'm at like the OHL level, I'm never going to become, well, maybe one day I could become like some super agent, but I'm not going to own the NHL. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like in UFC, let's say like there's a good promoter in Canada, Unified MMA.
Yep.
And
they've out of Rebel too. Yeah.
Yeah. He's actually from out west. Sonny is a friend of mine. And they started getting a lot of traction, but they're on a platform, and that platform's UFC Fight Pass.
That's true.
So it's not Unified Fight Pass, and UFC's never going to be on Unified. Like, you're still handing people over, like to go all the way to the top. If I manage someone, eventually they become a UFC world champion. So the promotional company is also the sanctioning body. So it's like, it's a monopoly. So you can't compete with them.
You could still manage them though, as Lee Baxter.
You could manage them, but that's not what I really.
You'd want to be the
I want to put the show on.
Yeah, you want to put the show on. Yeah. There's so many questions I have to that, but to get more specific with like, I want to zoom in a little bit to like the cities. I'm interested to get your opinion as like being involved with boxing. You grew up in Toronto. Do you think there's a toughest city in Toronto that breeds kind of like, isn't Hamilton? A lot of guys come out of Hamilton, Toronto. Do you think there's a certain breeding ground around Canada that is like the toughest city?
I think there was.
Really? What was that?
Yeah. Niagara Falls, Kitchener, Hamilton was a good one. Like blue collar cities. But
makes sense, right?
But now, like Regent Park developed a lot of fighters in the like 60s, 70s, 80s. But now I think with how accessible everything is, I don't think there's one place. It would be definitely sought out by who the trainer is in that place.
So trainers, let's ask about that quickly, and then I want to talk about Canada in general. Is there trainers that you think that are doing it right, or do you think most of them kind of have it like backwards? I don't want to say that because I know a lot of the trainers. I don't want to be like disrespectful to them. Let's say,
yeah. And listen, I don't want to either because I still work with them all. But I'll shoot it straight. Like I won't say anything on this podcast that I wouldn't say to their face.
Fair enough.
I think that trainers need to be more open minded here. I think trainers need to tap into more resources and just be realistic with where they're at. Like it's just so, the sport is just weird, man. Like everyone, like there's a lot of haters in the sport. There's a lot of like numbers don't lie, man. Numbers don't lie. So everyone can say they know everything, but just numbers don't lie. Like, look at one thing that was taught to me by a mentor was, if you want to be good at something, look at who's the very best at it and emulate things from them. Learn from them.
Yeah.
But in the process, you got to be turning numbers. You can't be emulating things and telling yourself you're emulating things and you're not producing. So I would like to push a lot of these trainers to produce more. Like last night, I keep going back to this Lucas Body thing. His trainer is a guy that is fairly new to the game, and I shouldn't say new, but newer. He's a younger guy, and he's getting his feet wet. But he produced last night. Was it his fighter or was it his trainer? But the only thing that Lucas was thanking was his trainer and his fight plan.
Well, they kind of move as in sequence, right?
Yeah,
So whatever decision is made, it's as a unit, right?
And I think that sometimes it's a combination of a few things. The trainer's really good, and he knows what he has, meaning he knows that his fighters are nothing special. So he's reluctant to put his fighters into something because he knows no matter how good he coaches these fighters, they might not be that coachable. So he knows the limitations on them, and that's why he's holding back. Or you start training, like there's an old saying, like you fight the fight compared to who's in front of you. So sometimes guys that are really talented, they're always sparring less talented guys. They're fighting less talented guys. They start getting worse. I think that sometimes trainers are not looking at a very, very high level. So they start almost losing confidence because they're so used to training low-level guys. But I just want to see, like, and I don't want to tell any trainer that they're not good here because I don't know anything about it. I know how to promote. I don't know how to train people.
But you got to work with them specifically, right?
But I do want to say to every trainer, take more risks. That's all.
Paid off
Learn from last night.
Yeah, so I was gonna say.
Take more risks.
Paid
Or we're
off.
all just going to be local club level fighters. When there's talent that gets lost because we don't take risks.
I love that. And hopefully that message lands on them well. One of the other things I want to talk about is Canada. We talked a little bit about it earlier. Canadian guy on the big stage, many stages before. I have a sense of I'm proud to be fucking Canadian, to be honest. But I feel like there's a little regression in the pride in Canada. First question is like, are you proud to be Canadian? And then
I was.
Yeah, so like what happened, you think?
Yeah.
What do you think happened, bro?
It's not Canada anymore. Look around.
Yeah.
Look around. It's just not like you could like I'm all for immigration. My mom wasn't born here. I'm sure your parents weren't born here or someone's
What's your
grandparents. Irish.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. But
Makes sense. So much sense. Fighting everything. That makes so much sense.
my child's half Korean. His mother was born in Korea. Like I'm definitely not like everyone should be born here and that's how it is. But if you're going to come here like how people used to come here and want to become Canadian. What's happening here is everyone is coming here so quickly that they can't even adapt, that they do what they know, and then they start imposing how they live where they're from. Now, with that being said, you guys left for a reason. I'm not saying your country's bad, but you came to a country for opportunity. So come here, and the country needs to be respected. And I feel the people that were here, they're leaving. Like, they don't want to be here anymore.
We saw that through COVID, man.
Yeah.
That's where the sense of, that's my question, kind of where it happens is like, everyone's like, oh, I got to leave Canada. I got to go to the States. I got to go to these like Republican states because I can actually live and be free, especially through COVID, right? So that's where my concern is like, yeah, I agree with you 100%, but I think politics matters too. And that's where I'm like getting a little worried. I think the pendulum swinging
Yeah,
now.
like politics is a dicey thing, right?
It's
like
fucking dicey, man. But
because look at it. Like, look at it. Look at what's going on, man.
That was a
look
movie.
For the United States of America,
Yeah.
look who the two candidates are.
yeah.
Like, you're telling me you can't have someone that has the thought process and business ethic and work ethic like Donald Trump that's in his 40s? In that whole country, you can't find someone? And then the current United States president is who he is. Like, it's a mockery.
And he all got shot, almost got assassinated on live TV.
No, I understand that, and that's a whole nother can of worms.
Which is
We need a
fucked.
whole podcast just to speak about.
Yeah.
But it's it's everything's a running joke. Like everything's a running joke. Like there once was a time where everyone had pride, and it's like there's no way you could tell me that Justin Trudeau has pride.
No way. No,
You can't.
I think it's a
You
big.
can't.
It's
And he's
big-
not a proud Canadian.
No.
He's a proud businessman.
I think he's selfish, dude. I mean, I'm not a fan of him at all. to be
No,
honest.
neither am I. And I think a lot of people
I
agree
think
with us.
that's
but like,
why the pendulum's swinging, though.
yeah. But like at some point, someone has to care for this country, like Donald Trump does for his own country. And I'm not saying everything that Donald Trump does is right.
Of
and
course,
everything that
of
Donald
course.
Trump and he's the best person to run the country. With the candidates, he's the best person because he fucking cares.
Yeah, and we need that pride, though. You know what I mean? Like Canada is a beautiful country in its essence, just the landscapes, just what it is as a country, and we had that Canadian pride,
Yeah,
and that's why I wanted to ask you about it. As a Canadian, rubbing shoulders with the States all the time, doing business with these people, why are we in this place, and how do we kind of come back from it, bro?
You need a better leader
That I would say starts there for sure.
from anything, from the smallest thing. So everyone needs to be led, right? But if you're talking about changing a country, it starts with who's leading the country, and he's not a good leader.
So do you take it, just to touch on politics for 2 seconds? Do you take interest on it at all? Do you think there's
As you mature and you get older, it's more of a topic of conversation. So you do start taking a bit more interest.
and as a business owner, I'm sure it affects you in many ways, right?
Yeah, it does. From the small level, like this guy around the area, Chris Glover, he cares, and I tried to help him. I didn't really care what party he was with because I tried to help him because I knew he cared, and you see it slowly in the small little ways. But when you look at like a whole country and you got a guy that's leading it that just is just out to lunch, like just out to lunch on so many different topics.
So many different topics, just out of touch.
Just completely out of touch. And his dad wasn't like that.
It was different then. But one of the things you said is how we don't really support each other as much. And I think that Toronto's like that a little bit too much. That I don't know why. Like somebody's trying to do something out of the ordinary, they don't get as much support as they should. But one of the things I saw on your Instagram is you're very involved with your community, especially locally. You know, you see some videos of you walking into like local businesses, fucking eating the food, bigging them up. And I love that so much, bro. So how, has that always been like a value to you? And how important do you think it is to support the community?
You know, there was a phase in my life, I can't really pinpoint exactly the age I was, but I was a hater.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think every young man at one point,
Yeah.
you know, you're
like,
driven by your
you're
ego.
Like,
You're like,
fuck that guy. He's shit. I'm better than. But I wasn't. And there was a lot of things that was going on. And then fortunately, I grew out of it pretty quick. And because I knew how shit it was to do that, and when I grew out of it, I like really make sure that I don't go down that road. Like, you don't think I could be sitting on this podcast shit talking Lucas Body right now?
yeah, I know.
Like
Yeah.
No, I made a business arrangement. I followed through on his end. He followed through. It ended, and he got the best opportunity of his life, and I'm fucking happy for him. You know what I mean? And it's just like those local businesses. Why would you want them to fail?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why do you even want to say a bad thing about them? If you can't say something to someone's face, you shouldn't be saying it.
100%.
And that goes back to being a tough guy. Like, I'll go over to that business and say, hey, man, your food's shit. This guy here, like Pat's. You know Pat's?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Pat's Jamaican place. He was
Yeah.
there for like 25 years. He was on one of my reels. I went in there and I ate the Jamaican food. I
Yes.
had my son with him. He retired and he sold it to someone. It's called Cheryl's. The first couple of weeks, I wanted to support him, but the food was atrocious. And most people would just, it's never going to be the same. Pat's is gone. This place sucks. No, I went. I said, this stuff is atrocious, and this is why. You need to change this, change that. I'm not a know-it-all, but I've been here for 15 years, and I'm telling you what people are going to say to you. So make changes. Their food's good now. I'm going to do like a joint venture with them to help promote them because their
Nice.
food's good. And I talked to the guy, and they cared. They didn't just go there to try and bang out, buy this business, take a bunch of money from people, not care. And I really, really respect people that care about things that they do.
100%. And I think there's an important part about that is supporting the people around you, especially you as a business owner just around the block here. Those shops are all around you, kind of bigging up the people around you. Everyone wins in a way, right? There's a unity aspect.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I think Queen West is really lost right now, and a lot of that has to do with so much vacancy. Like, think about it. There's probably 60% of the places are for lease. If all those places were full, there's 60% of more business that's down there that's rubbing shoulders with other businesses.
Is it just too expensive?
I think what happened was like Queen West was voted the second coolest place in the world to live and shop by Vogue magazine in like 2016. And it was all like cool mom and pop, unique brands.
The real shit.
Yeah. And then it was just a cool place to go down to. And it had been like that for decades. COVID smashed them out of the park.
Everybody, bro.
But more importantly, when COVID smashed them up, because they didn't have big box store money to carry them through, landlords were kind of in good relationships with like one single owning a building and one single owner. So they needed to be able to afford to keep the building. So they couldn't really give them the breaks. And then all these weed shops came in. And they thought like, oh, we've won the lottery. We're going to be able to sell drugs legally. So we'll pay a landlord way more than what the going rate is. So all these landlords got spoiled and got overpaid. And then COVID ended, wrecked half the businesses. Weed shops realized that no one really smokes weed like they thought they would be because it's just so normal.
I didn't know that, bro.
Yeah. So now all of a sudden, all these weed shops close. All these landlords don't want to say, okay, I got to go back down to reality and work with a mom and pop and give them a deal on the rent and try and work with them so we can get these businesses off the ground. And then everything just remained vacant.
That's fucking unfortunate, man.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll be swing back?
It's slowly getting back. But like you just see the turnover so quick. Like you see some guy come in and he's going to try something 6 weeks later. It's not going as planned. 2-3 months later, he's locked up by the landlord.
Do you have an approach like in regards to business and what keeps you kind of going, keeps you moving and shaking as you put it?
Be honest and real with the people you're in business with. Just shoot it straight. Because I think, and I was guilty as well. Like you want everyone to think that everything's amazing and you're doing well, and you got this persona like, oh, I'm this entrepreneur that's just driving a fancy car and I always got cash in my pocket because my place is busy, but that's not reality. And I think sometimes you just don't want to face reality and you don't want to actually start saying, hey, you know what? I bet on myself and I didn't win this time. And then your confidence starts taking a bit of a hit. And then you don't want to face reality to like work with landlords or work with employees and say, hey, things aren't going like they should. We're going to have to get creative here. And I think people they're so prideful that they don't want to just drop their pride and say, hey, I got to ask you for help.
I love that, man. The authenticity and just being real with it. I think that goes a long way.
Yeah.
Last question. You mentioned earlier that you have a 2-year-old.
Yeah. Well, he's 2 in August.
2 in August. Okay. How is that? Because I'm telling you, I look forward to being a father. How has that contributed to you as a man?
Everything's changed.
Yeah?
Everything's changed. Priorities just change. Yeah.
I love asking people that question.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy because I was a guy that always wanted kids but just didn't have them. I just kept putting it on the back burner like, oh, you know what? Later. I'm hustling. I'm doing this. And then as soon as he came out, it's like, I don't even care.
Everyone says
I don't even really care about much anymore. Yeah.
So it just changes your mindset, eh?
Yeah.
I love it, man. I can't wait.
I think, and I shouldn't say this because hopefully I'll have more and I'll have daughters one day and they might see this podcast, but because it was a boy too, and like in the way that the world is right now, like you just feel so responsible to guide them. And
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I'm a little. That's one of the reasons I was telling you about. I look forward to having a boy. I'm scared to have a girl almost.
Oh,
because they're so vulnerable and you want to protect them and stuff. And
such a scary world, man.
And so it's in general,
but like
it's scary.
My criminal defense lawyer, and I guess maybe I shouldn't have one, but I have a good relationship.
It's all
with
good.
him.
Yeah, you got to.
He's been my friend for quite some time, and him and his daughter, it's like the most envious relationship because she's seen a lot, but like she's so level-headed, and she's like she worked the front desk of my gym, and and it's a very unique relationship because I see how so many other relationships go sideways with just girls getting exposed to stuff in the city, and like their relationship is so tight that he keeps her in this good headspace, respectable, but still being able to mature. And sometimes in life, like you see a certain relationship that you want to emulate.
So out of all the hats that you wear, you'd say being a father is probably the best.
Now it is, yeah, 100%. I'd have 100 kids.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations, man.
Thanks.
And thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it. I got one more final segment on Couple Casuals podcast, which I call Salute. I'm Italian, so we like to go, hey,
Nice.
salute, you know? So I give an opportunity to the guest to kind of end us off with anything that you feel called to say. You can, little cheers, little anything to end us off.
I didn't know what I was coming to, and I'm glad I came to it. So
I appreciate that, man. Thank you
you're
so
doing a
much.
good job, buddy.
I appreciate it, man, honestly. And long may it continue. I look forward to seeing how everything unfolds, man. I appreciate it.
And we'll get Josh on the show. He's
Yo,
Italian.
I would love, man, if you could set that up. He sounds like he has
100%,
a great story.
and he's Italian. So.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
That's awesome too. Italians and Irish work really good together
Yeah,
too, by the
yeah,
way. So
yeah.
that's fucking awesome as well. But yeah, I would love to talk to him. That's what this podcast is about. We just kind of keep it real. Couple Casuals is like, you know, I used to drink a lot with the guys that come
Yeah.
up, but it's 11 a.m. So it's kind of too early.
Yeah.
Have a couple casuals and just keep it easy.
No,
and
it's
just have
good,
a
man.
conversation.
It's
I
good.
appreciate it, man.
Thanks, bro.
And thank you guys. Until next time, love you, nobody else. Ciao.